Now, let's broaden this out by speaking with the Global Affairs Analyst Sam Phatey, who is joining us via Skype to share his thoughts on the turmoil in Tunisia. Thank you so much for joining us on the news. The political events in Tunisia are largely linked to an acute power struggle between presidency, the Prime Minister and the Speaker of the Parliament. Was this a power grab by the President or a temporary move to get the country back on track?
Well, we are yet to see what exactly this is going to be, whether it is the power grab or temporary move, but it is apparent what it looks like more, personally, from my perspective, is a power grab. Tunisia's new constitution that was actually passed in 2014 was very clear as to the fact that the president controls the military and foreign affairs, and then the prime minister, who is chosen by the party with the majority in parliament, and that's the way parliamentary standings work. Is going to control other parts of the government, including the health ministry. Obviously, the Minister of Health, who was fired due to the COVID crisis, was a very close ally to President Said. Now, that's one factor. I mean, any good leader would want the coronavirus situation in your country to be controlled, but there's a parallel, should I say, a rather confusing situation when President Said himself goes on to join a crowd amidst the increase in COVID-19 cases in the country.
Well, that's quite amazing. The government itself has also been accused of how they handled COVID-19 so far. This is something that has ravaged the entire world. And then Tunisia, with the current situation, the political situation in Tunisia, do you say that the government tried one way or the other to ensure that the 18 and above, according to the government, are vaccinated? But then how much would you say they have succeeded in this aspect?
Well, they have not succeeded well, because it's one thing to encourage people, but it's another thing to make sure that it is properly planned and rolled out so people can get vaccinations accordingly. Now, they encouraged people to go out, and they did it in such a haphazard way that a lot of people went out, and they also stampedes in certain areas of the capital because people were trying to get access to the vaccine, and there was not enough to get to everybody. So they could have organized it better, probably by starting with people like healthcare workers and senior citizens, ensuring that they are the first to get the vaccinations, and try to organize and see which other groups can also get it as well. So it should have been done in an organized manner. Now, here's what is interesting about all of this. I do not feel that the COVID-19 situation is enough an excuse to even suspend Parliament. Now, even where Parliament is becoming an obstruction in order to ensure that the country is vaccinated and the people are kept safe, it is not going to be enough, because the president has some executive powers that he can use, including giving the vaccination process to the military and to intervene and get people vaccinated. I mean, you may suspend Parliament maybe because you want to enforce a state of emergency and you are unable to, but it has not even reached that stage where a state of emergency can be implemented. Even if the President Said's intention were genuine, but having a political crisis involving Prime Minister Machichi and the other politicians, and most of these political parties are actually opposed to this, could lead to protests and other demonstrations. The same, and that is what it is building up to. So you have a lot of crowds coming together to protest a decision by a president amid the whole virus situation. So again, it may not be very advisable or tactical at all at this point in time to do.
Well, the question has arisen as to why has Tunisia itself, which revolution in 2011 is often held up as the sole success of the Arab Spring revolt across the region, but has not led to the stability economically or politically?
Well, you need to understand that it is one thing to change regimes, but it's another to change the system. Now, what we have seen in many changes across the Middle East and in Africa is regime change, but we have not actually seen system change. So the systems are still in place. And then so there needs to be a way that these institutions and the way they work and the mindset and the concept of the people have to change. Now, of course, Tunisia have made a lot of progress, being as we say, the only successful revolution amid the whole Arab Spring situation since 2011. But the regime in Tunisia have changed, but the system itself have not changed. There have been more than 9 if not 10. This is the 10th government, I think, so far since 2011. Every year, government is changing hands. Government keeps on changing hands. There have never been a time that there have been enough time for a proper system change to occur. If you are consistently changing leaders and consistently, repeatedly changing governments, they will not have the time in order to ensure reforms to occur. This includes security reforms and civil service reforms, and to put structures in place to ensure human rights is respected and corruption is taken care of. And this is what has been lacking in Tunisia for the most part.
And actually, this has, divided people along opinion lines. Some see the president as a true statesman, while others see him as a dictator. Well, from an outsider point of view, how do you see the president Kai's side's, stance as the president?
Well, he has really been a statesman, for the most part. But again, you need to understand that presidents have other people around them that are also advising them, and not everything that they do will be right. But again, this has not reached a stage where he cannot correct it. He has an opportunity to correct it, so it doesn't continue to be considered or seen as a power grab that would ignite political tensions and create hardline political divisions and rivalries. So he has an opportunity to reverse this and quickly fix it. And he should ensure that he doesn't appoint the prime minister. One of the first steps he has to do is to respect the constitution and make sure that if Prime Minister Meshishi was doing something wrong, he has to make sure that the parliament, the party with the majority in parliament, select the new prime minister.
Right.
So he has to respect.
Some Phatey, as we wrap up this conversation, I would like to get your opinion that the 2014 constitution calls for a special courts to be set up to decide disagreements like this, but it has not been established. How can peace and political stability be restored in Tunisia when the parliament has been suspended with the report of crackdown on oppositions?
And that is why he has to reverse some of the decisions that he made before it goes out of hands. So he has to ensure that parliament resume their work and do what their function is. And this is why in the earlier part of the conversation, I said, even if parliament becomes an obstruction, he should not have never dissolved the parliament. So he should let them continue their work. And in fact, his councils should have advised him and should have made sure that they go through a special constitutional court for this decision to have been made. He can reverse these decisions and get, if he wants this to happen, he can go through the constitutional court. And then when it comes to tackling the coronavirus situation, he should immediately hand that over to the military to do the vaccinations and roll it out to the public in a more strategic way. But he can still reverse these decisions.
Right, Global Affairs Analyst Phatey, thank you so much for our insight.
My pleasure.